A white sedan is seen leaving WSU at 2:47 a.m. the night of the crime. Did he turn left or right at Route 270? We have mapped out what the PCA says and show how plausible his alibi really could be. Why are the Floyd's Cannabis Shop, Red Star Coffee Company, and Monday's machine cameras so important to the defense? We think we know, and show it here in this episode. As always, everything we discuss is for entertainment and is speculation. Please like and subscribe, and definitely join our discussion in the comments. If you're ready, let's get into it. Welcome back to Typically Unique. I'm Kim Aponte, and I'm here with my husband, Carlos.
Hello.
On today's episode, we are continuing reading the PCA. This is part 2. And I did my little assignment that you had asked that it would be nice if we could have a map that we could look at and envision all of this. So I probably went a little overboard, but
You're a teacher.
We are going to have some visual aids for this episode. Also, if you can stick around to the end, I did have a pretty big aha moment, I thought, as I was mapping everything. So I was able to look at it in a way that made me start thinking things that I hadn't thought before. So, all right. So just to give you a visual of the area where this case took place, in the middle is where Pullman, Washington is, and that's where Bryan Kohberger lived. On the right is Moscow, Idaho. So you can see the distance there. People say it's about 10 miles or 10 minutes, something like that. And then his alibi is that he was in that park, that Hawaii park. So I wanted to show that. And then this is actually in Pullman. So now that you know we're in the center there, that's where his apartment is. And when we left off with the PCA last time, we had started to get into talking about the car and the routes he was taking. So we left off there for this episode.
All right, let's get into it.
Okay, so investigators were given access to video footage on the Washington State University campus located in Pullman, Washington. A review of that video indicated that at approximately 2:44 a.m., on November 13th, 2022, a white sedan, which was consistent with the description of the white Elantra known as Suspect Vehicle 1, was observed on WSU surveillance cameras traveling north on Southeast Nevada Street at Northeast Stadium Way. At approximately 2:53 a.m., a white sedan, which is consistent with the description, was observed traveling southeast on Nevada Street in Pullman, Washington, towards State Route 270 that connects Pullman, Washington to Moscow, Idaho. So I'm going to show that. All right, I had a hard time finding where that little... They have a lot of northeast and southeast streets, so that's where they're saying he was seen on this northeast Nevada street. And that was at 2:44. And then this is where... So he comes up to the main road, which is 270. And remember what they said about that in the hearing?
That one had him going one way and one had him going the other way.
Yeah, so I thought this was an important spot because the defense team, I thought from the hearing, made it seem like if he turns right, he's headed towards the park, and if he turns left, he's headed towards Moscow. And I put on the screen there 2:53 a.m. That's where he's seen. And then I circled where Brent Kopacka's apartment was, just because we mention his name sometimes. He was the Army vet that was killed in his apartment. So that's how close he was to that area. At approximately, then they skip to 5:25 a.m. At approximately 5:25 a.m., a white sedan, which was consistent with the description... and this is where they have him going to Johnson Road in Pullman, and all the way to West Palouse River Drive in Moscow, which intersects with Conestoga Drive. At approximately 5:27 a.m., it was observed on cameras traveling northbound on Stadium Way at Nevada Street, Stadium Way at Grimes Way, Stadium Drive at Wilson Road, and Stadium Way at Cougar Way. So why do you think they named all those streets right there?
Probably because they got them on video.
So all of those, so that's what I did on the map. Because why would they name them? They must have 5 video cameras around there, right? Okay, so that's what... Yeah, right here. Okay, so I put the 5 cameras on there. So that big blue line that's going from the left of the screen, kind of making a U general shape over to the right, there's no video cameras that they're citing. They're just saying, we know that road goes that way. What do you think about that?
I mean, at 5:20 something, does it even matter? But yeah, I don't think it matters. It's at 5:20.
Well, why they should just say we saw him on these cameras in this area, not, oh, you're on this road, so we're going to assume you're going here.
Are they saying we didn't have any video cameras?
All their video cameras are clustered up in that left-hand corner.
Yeah.
All on the WSU campus is where those cameras are clustered. And then see how that blue line goes way down and sweeps around?
Right.
There's no videos there. They're just saying we just know that road
in
connects.
In the PCA.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. In the PCA. Yeah.
Okay, so then we're going to see their map. What do you think of that?
I couldn't make that out. Certainly couldn't make it out on the PCA that we printed out. And then when you put this up, I was like, I don't even know what that's showing me. I have no idea.
Like, I used Google. Like, use Google Maps. Like, what is this? It's a bunch of green with some white dots on it.
Yeah, I have no idea what that is.
Crazy. So that is their depiction. That's their depiction showing Moscow.
Great depiction.
All right, and then they've got one more. So this one is showing the car's route of travel.
When, where?
Returning, so leaving WSU campus and returning to WSU campus and being on that Northeast Valley Road, the one where I first showed the little car.
Okay.
So that's their depiction of that.
I had no idea what that is.
On November 29th at approximately 12:28 a.m., so after midnight, WSU police officer Daniel Chiango queried white Elantras registered at WSU. As a result of that query, he located a 2015 white Elantra with a Pennsylvania license plate, and it was registered to Bryan Kohberger, and they have his apartment number. And then, okay, so that had a Pennsylvania license plate. So when he said I did a query, what does that make you think?
He looked it up on the computer. He didn't walk around, but he probably just said, who has this car at this campus. Right.
So this guy's doing a computer search.
Yeah.
30 minutes later, approximately, it says approximately 12:58 a.m., another officer was looking for white Elantras, and he located one in a Pullman parking lot at an apartment complex. So he ran the car, and it returned to Kohberger with a Washington tag. I reviewed Kohberger's Washington State driver's license information and photograph. That indicated that he was 6 foot, weighs 185 pounds, and he had bushy eyebrows. So he met the physical description.
Right.
At first, I thought there was something to that, one being Pennsylvania and one being Washington, but it was his birthday, Bryan Kohberger's birthday, so he had to get his plates changed. So they probably just didn't have it updated in the computer. So the computer was old, but the parking lot was new. And that was on November 29th. November 29th. That might have been the actual day it did it. Changed its plates. Okay, so now we're getting into some of his background. So they put a couple paragraphs in here about him being detained at a traffic stop in August. There's video footage of that out online. And then again, he was stopped in October. So a couple traffic stops before the incident. On November 18th was when he changed his license plates. So it was before that, November 29th, when they found it. Then he says, based on my experience, license plates, cars have to have a front and back license plate.
Bryan Kohberger said that, or?
No, Corporal Payne, who wrote this.
Oh, okay. Right. Because I know there was some question about that. Yeah.
All right. Investigators believe that Kohberger is still driving the 2015 white Elantra because his vehicle was captured on December 13th in Loma, Colorado. So we know he left the area and all of that. And then they just go into his background. So they bring up how he was a PhD student at WSU. His past education includes undergraduate degrees in psychology and cloud-based forensics. He wrote an essay when he applied for an internship with the Pullman Police Department in the fall of 2022. He wrote in his essay that he had an interest in assisting rural law enforcement agencies with how to better collect and analyze technological data in public safety operations.
Can we back up for a minute?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's hypothesize for a second, because, I mean, we're throwing out some facts. And I think part of the reading of this PCA that kind of mirrors up to the last hearing that we saw, you know, we thought maybe there were some inconsistencies, and, you know, we also thought that there could be some gotcha moments, but there's still some answered questions for me. So you and I, let's put our, you know, guessing hats on here. And so on November 29th, when they did the search of the vehicles in Washington, and Corporal Payne mentions that we had a chance to look up this Bryan Kohberger, who had a car that matched the suspect vehicle one, right? And he noticed that, you know, this person was 6 feet tall, 185 pounds, and had bushy eyebrows. Do you think that's an aha moment for him, or do you think they already had his name? Just you, Kim, not documents, or I'm going to find it in the PCA here, or what did people, you know, tell me? Like you, what do you think?
Yeah, I think they already had his name.
And where did you think they got his name from?
From his involvement with the police.
Oh, okay. So Payne knew him previously because they were cohorting on something, right?
Or maybe not. Maybe they weren't working together, but he might have been.
So how did Payne get his name? So
through colleagues?
Okay, so who are you hypothesizing that is bringing this name forward? Like, hey, Payne, check this guy out.
Oh, I don't know that.
Darn it. Okay. All right. I was hoping we could narrow the, you know, vast amount of alternative suspects down to somebody that may have had an issue or a beef or, you know, bad police work, so bad police work in the past that, hey, I'm either going to get fired or I'm going to get put in prison, or, you know, something that, you know, this guy's trying to direct this colleague who is, you know, maybe hypothetically crooked as well, right? To, hey, do my bidding because I'm about to go upriver, and would you want to come upriver with me? So
there is an officer.
Yeah, there we go.
And he might be a state police officer. I'm not sure,
so
but and I don't want to say names, but it starts with a T.
Okay, good. That's fine.
If there's anyone, it'd probably be that person.
Okay.
I think.
So state policeman T.
Yeah, and I think there's some lawsuits or investigations going on.
Okay,
with another case, like in another county.
Right. So Payne is going to put his life, reputation, all that on the line for State Trooper T.
Are you watching the Karen Reed trial?
Yeah, exactly. So my thought was that when they got the DNA results, which I'm assuming they tried to get very early, they wanted to get some DNA results so they could run it through CODIS.
It seems like they did it really fast.
So when they didn't get a hit through CODIS, some of the speculation is, although it may have been said in court, that genealogy narrowed it down to Bryan Kohberger, or somebody very close. So I'm almost thinking that they're looking at Washington because Bryan Kohberger went to Washington or was going to Washington at the time.
WSU.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So he's there. Hey, let's validate that he has this white Elantra. So let's do a query search, and let's physically get out there and see if we can't see the vehicle. Right? Mm-hmm. So to me, it's kind of, does that... I think they were led in that direction, and then the picture on that license plate and all his stats lined up with what they had so far. So it keeps him on that path. That was my thought.
Yeah, I cannot say for sure right now how he's connected. Like, that's what I'm trying to find out, but that'd be my best reasoning right now, because I still have a couple theories of what actually happened. So.
Yeah. So you got him as a Washington student. He's been doing this type of work, trying to help the rural police, yada, yada, yada. So I think there's some significance about the work that he's doing or the studying that he's doing.
That's what I think. I mean, he was... Well, we don't know if he got that position or not. Like, they won't speak on that assistantship. And whether he did or not, he was still working as a PhD student at WSU. And I could imagine they want you to have real world experiences when you're in programs like that. Who knows what he had access to?
Yeah, internships
for programs,
and
you want to practice your skill of what you're there for.
So what do they mention in the PCA about his continuous education? You started to read that and I interrupted you.
Yeah. So just about, he wrote his essay for the, and then it gets to the Reddit survey. And so then that's what we have pulled up. So I actually found the survey so we could look just real, quick at it. And it says the survey asked for participants to provide information to understand how emotions and psychological traits influence decision-making when committing a crime.
Right.
So let's just look at this real quick.
And we could do the famous TikTok thing, pause to read. We're not going to read all of these, and it's too far away for us to read. It is.
It's too far away from us right now. I don't know if that makes it bigger. There we go, a little bit. But so the only thing I wanted to point out is if you see in the third paragraph down, it wasn't just his survey. He didn't do this on his own. It was a team group project, a research project that they were doing. And we discussed that before. I predicted that would be true. That would make sense because that's what you do when you're in college. So there were 27 or 28 questions, I believe. And, they start off with gender and basic questions, and it goes to, I will hit the play button, sorry.
Yeah, and pause to read the questions yourself, if you like.
Yeah. So basic ones on there, you know, some multiple choice.
I think it's just to get a, I don't know, data set, you know, like.
Oh, for sure. They're probably like profiling, you know, to help with profiling, because there was a lot of feeling questions, or like describe yourself questions, describe your emotions. I know one of them was like, do you have a fiery temper? Do you have like different type of, here, I can see this one. Over the last 2 weeks, how often have you been bothered by any of the following problems? So I think the directions said circle all that apply or whatever. So here's some, you know, how likely are you to do something? Yep, 28 questions, I believe. Oh, 29. So that was the survey that people made a big deal about, but I looked at it and was like, meh, typical.
Typical.
Typical. Yeah. As part of the investigation, law enforcement obtained search warrants to determine cellular devices that utilize cellular towers in close proximity to the King Road residence on November 13th between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. After determining that Kohberger was associated with that 2015 white Elantra and the 8458 phone, investigators reviewed these search warrant returns. A query of the 8458 phone in these returns did not show the phone utilizing cellular tower resources in close proximity to the King Road residence between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. So they did not have him on towers between those times.
Right.
So then he goes on to say, based on my training experience and conversations with law enforcement, not having your phone on or not having service would be, and if you're going to commit a crime, that would be why it's not on. So there's a whole paragraph about that.
So let's pause there for a second. So it also doesn't have him anywhere else, his phone, right? This query of the 855 number between 3 and 5 doesn't have him anywhere else.
According to the PCA.
According to the PCA. Okay. I wonder how that's going to magically appear. But go ahead.
I know, well, especially if they didn't go out and get anything else. If they were only looking in that area. On December 23rd,
Well, wait a minute. What do you mean if they're only looking in that? They're querying the phone.
Correct. But I this is going to come up again later also, but it's coming up now. So I will just say he's a suspect because he has that car. And I guess that's going to be on cameras. I guess that's what I was getting confused with. So yeah, forget it.
Okay.
So his phone is not connecting to the towers. Yeah.
Yeah. His phone and phone number is not connecting anywhere because they queried the phone.
Right.
Okay. Gotcha. Right.
I was getting confused with the
no
car.
issue.
Car, phone, you know.
Yeah. Well, we're trying to link them kind of together, right? We're trying to say that where the phone's going is where the car should be. You would think, right?
You'd think. Well,
and I think as a defense, he would say the same thing. My phone was pinging in
somewhere else.
Wahi Park, right?
Right.
You know, so I want that phone to be on and showing that I was there instead of what you guys are alleging, that you have some videos of me here in Moscow.
Right. So we're going to look at...
both of them are having issues with the phone.
But people will say, why would you bring any of those, phone or car, to a crime? Like, stupid. And if you're not bringing your phone, why'd you drive past cameras a million times? Like, it's just inconsistencies. But also, we're going to look at the terrain of that area, of that park, to see, I want to see what you think if you would get service or not.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting. Okay, so on December 23rd, they applied for the search warrant. They were looking for historical phone records from November 12th to November 14th, so those 2 days. So then he says he has estimated locations for the 8458 phone from November 12th to November 13th time period. So that's where we're going to go into where they say his car was. So at 2:42, I think that's this next one. Nope. This one.
And just to be clear, this is times around when the crime happened, not during anything during the crime. So this is well before and well after.
Right.
Okay.
In the PCA. They said nothing from 3 to 5 for his phone, but now we're talking about, well, no, this says cell phone data.
Cell phone data.
So this is his cell phone data. Yep. That's why I got to read this. So at approximately 2:42 a.m., the phone was utilizing cellular resources that provide coverage to 1630 Northeast Valley Road. So that's up by his apartment. And that's where the red circle on the map is, dot. And then at approximately 2:47, he's leaving his place and traveling south through Pullman. At approximately 2:47, the phone stops reporting to the network, which is consistent with either the phone being in an area without cellular coverage, the connection to the network is disabled, such as putting it in airplane mode,
Right.
or the phone is turned off.
Correct.
So 5 minutes. So 5 minutes from the time they say he left to the phone goes off. The phone does not report to the network again until approximately 4:48 a.m. So that's what we're looking at up there. It utilized cellular resources that provided coverage to Idaho State Highway 95 south of Moscow near Blaine. And that's what the orange arrow is pointing at. And that's north of Genesee. And Genesee's on that map south of it. Between 4:50 and 5:26, the phone utilizes cellular resources that are consistent with the phone traveling south on Idaho State 95 to Genesee, and then traveling towards Uniontown, and then north back to Pullman, Washington. So that is what that is showing up there.
All right. So just so I'm clear, because you're showing one route of travel or two routes of travel on this, because it starts at 2:40 something with him leaving Pullman, Washington, only 5 minutes of travel. So from the very top of the map there.
Yep, up here.
Very top of the map. I don't know if our mouse will show on that.
No, they won't see it, but you can see
Yeah,
what I'm
no. I know where I'm at. I got it.
Okay.
So the very top of the map there in blue, as you're coming down, what do you think 5 minutes of travel looks like?
Barely away from that red dot.
Okay, so this is a pretty big area.
Yeah, and it says on there, what does that say? 45 minutes?
45 minutes,
That's
okay.
a 45-minute drive.
Okay, so that's good to know. So it has him going south at that point. Well, what would be south on this map? I don't know if it's south on the,
Yeah,
world map.
I could not get the north-south,
Yeah.
east-west directions right on in this state, these two
So
states.
then about exactly 2 hours later, it has his phone reconnecting where you have the arrow at. Is that correct? 2 hours later
Right,
at
that's where it
4:48
connected, yeah.
a.m., you have his phone reconnecting
Yes.
where the arrow is at.
Yes.
Correct? Okay.
And yes, if you look under the 448, the white area is Moscow. So if they're saying he left at 2:47, went there, committed the crime, his cell phone's off from 3 to 5, but at approximately 3 to 5, his cell phone turns back on where that orange arrow is.
And what's that orange arrow pointing at?
A town called Blaine.
And Moscow is right below the 448 on top.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's 95, I think they said. Route
So
95.
the direct route would be for him to go from the very top of the blue straight east, and he could be in Moscow. This other route seems to be well off the beaten path.
Well, this would be him returning home. They're saying this is the way he went back home.
And the route would be well off the beaten path.
Oh, yes.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
So, okay, good. All right, good
Yep.
illustration of that, because I was I couldn't envision this from that. So,
oh, yeah. When you hear these
Yeah.
towns and these streets, I don't know what that means. So
Right.
I think it's very helpful to see it like this. So this is him going home, supposedly, when his phone turns back on.
Okay.
All right. So then they jumped to further review indicated that the phone used cellular resources on November 13th, leaving the area of his residence at 9 a.m. Right? So
The next morning.
that morning,
Yeah,
right?
gotcha.
The morning that this happened. So
Right.
at 9 a.m., he's leaving. Between 9:12 and 9:21, he's in the area of the King Road residence. So 9 a.m. he leaves.
And in 9:12.
9:12 he's in the house area, the 1122 King Road, till 9:21. They don't mention any specific cameras or this is the phone, so they're
Yeah.
just using the phone.
Right.
Sorry, I keep getting confused between those two. And then they have the phone traveling back to the area of his residence, arriving at 9:32 a.m. So from 9 a.m. to 9:30.
So it looks like from, again, the red pin on the top where the blue starts on the map there, he took the direct route, or his phone took the direct route from.
To get there in 10 minutes, 12 minutes, yeah.
So he took the direct route there, peeked around for a little bit, and took the direct route back, because he did almost all this within a half an hour
Yes, in the morning.
in the morning.
But this gets interesting, so listen to this.
Okay.
Oh, so they have a map of that too. Let's look at their map. That's their map.
Jeez.
Kind of looks what I like. That they're
Wait a minute.
saying,
That's the map of him going straight to Moscow and back?
I'm
No,
not
that's not
lying. I can hold this up to the camera. There's a whole big paragraph and on the previous page about what's on the screen right now that we looked at with the orange arrow, him coming home. Then there's a paragraph about 9 a.m. the next morning.
Yeah.
Then they say below is a depiction, not to scale, of the possible route taken based off of the cellular site location. And that's it. So I think that is showing what
What yours showed, yeah.
That looks like him coming home. That 4:48 time coming home. That doesn't look like
Yeah.
a 10-minute drive going
No.
there at 9 a.m.
Not at all.
But that's how they put it in their report.
Oh, okay. Well, it also depends on exactly where these images fall when printed out.
I'll give them all that. Okay, so then here's the important part. So they tell us all about that 9 a.m. to 9:30. Then they say investigators found that the 8:45:58 phone did connect to a cell phone tower that provides service to Moscow on November 14th, but investigators do not believe the phone was in Moscow on that date. And that phone has not connected to any towers since that date. So why would they say we know it connected, but we don't think it was there?
I have no idea.
That's weird.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, his cell phone did all these connectings, 12th, 13th, 14th to the last time. That same number connected on the 14th. Mm-hmm. And they say it hasn't connected since. Anywhere since?
In that area.
In that area.
To any towers that provide service to Moscow since that date.
Okay, so he's
not,
never been back in the Moscow area with that phone.
Also, maybe I'm confusing this. So they were telling us about the day of the crime, 9 a.m. to 9:30. Mm-hmm. Then this statement is about the 14th.
Right,
so
the day after.
Because they probably don't have him on any video cameras or anything like that, but they have his cell record saying his phone was in that area. So I think they think, oh, that's an oops, or that's, because I did hear people online talking about how you could be in Pullman, Washington, and using towers and other areas.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wonder what the weather was like on the 14th.
Right. So then he just says that based on all of that evidence, all the maps, all the routes, that he believes that this white Elantra, Bryan Kohberger's Elantra, is suspect vehicle 1. And especially because between 247 and 448, there's no cell phone connection. No connection with the cell phone. Then he was granted the search warrant. Oh, I looked this up. This was interesting. So in this part, he talks about how he was granted a search warrant for Kohberger's historical CSL I or 1 from June 23rd to current. And this was so from June to December of 2022. Prospective location information and a pen register, trap, and trace on his phone. So I looked that up. Mm-hmm. So it's for your phone. One, like the pen is like your outgoing calls, and the trap and trace are like incoming calls, something like that. It does not actually record the conversations, but it will be a log of who you called and who called you, and
Right.
probably the duration of the calls, things like that, but not the actual calls.
Gotcha.
So they did that. They wanted to determine if Kohberger stalked any of the victims, in this case, prior to the offense. They, if he conducted surveillance on the house, if he was in contact with any of the victims, associates before or after the alleged offense, or any locations that may contain evidence of the murders that occurred on November 13th, and the location of the white Elantra, as well as the location of him. Then they said that his phone utilized cellular services to the house at least 12 times prior to the crime, up until the late evening and early morning hours of that date.
Whoa, that's big.
12 times?
The house? You said the house.
Let me read it verbatim.
Yeah.
The records for the 8458 phone show the 8458 phone utilizing cellular resources that provide coverage to the area of 1122 King Road on at least 12 occasions prior to November 13th, 2022. All of these occasions, except for one, occurred in the late evening and early morning hours of their respective days. But doesn't that sound like stalking then? But they said he wasn't stalking.
Wow. That's huge.
Tell me what is huge to you about that.
That he is, again, what is the legal definition of stalking? Right?
Well, yeah, we never looked that up.
Yeah. So, but for them to find that, hey, he's been in this area, and it could be benign, I guess if I was a Kohberger, I'd be like, yeah, that's benign. There's a restaurant right there that could connect to that as well. There aren't, 100 towers here, but, if you're, trying to triangulate, where he's at within, a couple thousand feet, that's pretty damning.
Could be.
For him to be there, 12 times when there's no connection, supposedly, and if he's part of a conspiracy to be the patsy and be framed, what's he doing?
Yeah, stay away from the area.
Yeah, what are you doing?
Well, he's checking out what he thinks might be going on. That's what I think. He's like kind of maybe doing his own stakeout on things of what he's come across.
Stakeout, stalking, all sounds the same to me. But go ahead.
That's what I think.
But that's good. That's good information. Go ahead.
Well, also, I'm waiting, because I do think that can go either way.
Yeah.
Like super damning or nothing. Depending on like the cell phone towers, sensitivity, and
right. What
efficiency.
range? Yeah.
Like, because I've heard tons of people out there say, I lose service all the time, and you can be over here and pinging on a random tower, because that's based on traffic too. Like, I don't know. I don't understand it. Also, I'm waiting for the experts to talk about that. Okay.
Yeah. But, you know, I mean, we have to be honest here with the technology, and they've used this technology to find out where people are, right? They're using this technology to find out where people are.
And they're getting better and better at it.
Okay. So,
yep.
All right.
Okay. So then further analysis of the cellular data shows that he used cellular data resources on November 13th, consistent with the phone traveling from Pullman to Lewiston, Idaho. So I have that. So this is just a closer up picture of what I had shown, or what flashed real quick. So he's coming from Pullman up above, which I would call north because it's coming from the top.
Let's just, for these purposes, call this north, south, east, and west.
I tried to get a compass rose on the Google Maps, and I just could not figure out how to do it. So sorry about that. Okay, so he leaves Pullman, and he goes to Lewiston, Idaho.
And when is this? What's the time here?
This is 12:36 in the afternoon after the crime is committed.
On the 13th. Okay.
On the 13th.
Gotcha.
So he's home at 5 in the morning.
Yep.
Goes back at 9 in the morning, home at 9:30.
Yep.
Now he's going grocery shopping at 12:30, or he's going to a store.
Okay.
And they have him on a camera. At approximately 12:36 p.m., the phone utilized cellular resources that would provide coverage to Kate's Cup of Joe coffee stand located at 810. And let me make this bigger. I have them circled on the screen. 810 Port Drive is Kate's Cup of Joe.
So let me hold on for 1 second, okay? Because I'm trying to get perspective here. Where's his apartment is?
Up that way, I believe.
So off the map to the top right, where the blue is going off the map. Is that correct?
Yeah,
okay,
that's where he would be coming from.
So, and if this map showed way up there, Moscow would be to the right. Everything that you're showing here is south, according to the orientation of this map.
Right, if north was up, yeah.
And to the left, which would be west.
Yes.
So away from Moscow.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. Go ahead, continue.
Yes. So there was surveillance so they got phone at the Kate's Cup of Joe. They've got surveillance footage from U.S. Chef's store at 820 Port Drive. And that's adjacent to Kate's Cup of Joe, consistent with suspect vehicle 1. And they see it drive past Kate's Cup of Joe at a time consistent with the cellular data from the 8548 phone.
So my question is, so what? What is this telling us? This tells us nothing.
Yeah, they're tracking his whereabouts.
Well,
but in the PCA, what does this tell us?
Unknowingly, in hindsight, they're going back and tracking his, but they weren't tracking him at the time. And, just what this doesn't tell us anything.
Yeah, I agree. You're making my point for me.
Yeah, I mean, what is this? This has nothing to do. I mean, I wouldn't waste the ink on this unless they're trying to say that in the daytime hours from the 9 a.m. and the 12 p.m., the car is consistent with everything that we've seen on every single video camera footage that we've pulled up, that I can make a consistent record that this is the car.
I would like for him to have put that in here. That would be a great point to make. That would be a great
so
PCA
to me,
point to make.
So what?
Yeah.
I mean, unless they're making that point, to me, this is a so what.
Yeah, and they don't say that. Okay. Yeah. So then at approximately 12:46, the phone utilized cellular data in the area of Albertson's grocery store at 400 Bridge Street in Clarkston, Washington. And Albertson's is on there. So all this is in that area. Cameras showed Kohberger walk through the store, purchase unknown items at the checkout and leave at approximately 1:04 p.m. And then they have another map of them showing his path of travel. But wouldn't you want to know what he bought? I would want to know, is he buying Band-Aids? Is he buying bleach? Was he buying cleaning supplies? Like, how can they say unknown items? I would have been in there, like, finding out for sure. All right, here's their map. Aren't these
horrible?
Great? This time they put yellow arrows.
Well, that makes it easier. Yeah, that shows nothing.
I should mail them my maps.
Yeah,
that's funny.
Yeah, and those were probably done in a fraction of a time that they put theirs together.
Oh gosh. Okay, so additional analysis of records for the phone indicated that between 5:32 p.m. and 5:36 p.m., the phone utilized cellular resources that provide coverage to Johnson, Idaho. So this is still that same day. Now at 5:30, I keep thinking, isn't he tired? Like, wouldn't you? Not if
he was stargazing, he shouldn't be. He probably took a nap when he was out there stargazing.
So I do have that, I believe. So that's 5:32 to 5:36. Starting from the left would be Pullman. Going to the right where the red dot is Johnson, Idaho.
So now he's going past Moscow, but far south.
Yeah, I remember at the very beginning, a lot of people thought he's going out because you can see the green on the screen. That's really rural area, maybe going out there to get rid of stuff.
And how far? I see you have the drive length on there. How far is that?
Make it bigger. 1 hour and 49 minutes? Is that what that says?
Your eyesight's better than mine. I'm older than you, honey.
So, yeah, gone for, I don't know if that's round trip or not.
Well, it can't be, right?
Oh, no, because I only plugged it in one way when I did the directions. Yeah. So, yeah, almost a 2-hour drive out there.
And again, I'm so wetting this, but okay, let's see what else it says.
So, it stops reporting to the network from 5:36 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. So people were speculating that he's out there, wants his phone off, maybe he's hiding stuff, burying stuff. And I kept thinking, go out there with a metal detector. Like, what are people doing?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I made a note here that now we're missing like 14 days. So this is the last page. Last couple paragraphs, jumping to December 27th, but this has kind of been all over the place. So, Pennsylvania agents, December 27th, 2022, Pennsylvania agents recovered the trash from the Kohberger family residence located in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania. That evidence was sent to the Idaho State Lab for testing on December 28th. The Idaho State Lab reported that a DNA profile obtained from the trash and the DNA profile obtained from the sheath identified a male as not being excluded as the biological father of suspect profile. And so that's the suspect's biological father. Mm-hmm. And then based on all of this, he was requesting the arrest warrant be issued.
So just a couple things popped into mind on that last thing, because it does ultimately take us to present day. You know, there's an unknown entity going on, and then all of a sudden now we know, but or at least we have a name. Maybe we don't know, but we have a name. But they got the trash on the 27th, ran the DNA in Idaho on the 28th. What private airplane was jet or whatever was set up to go from Pennsylvania all the way to Idaho? And then what, technician was on the ready to receive this like a relay race baton to get it and run the DNA so quickly to get them, because they ended up arresting him the next day, right?
Yeah, I'm finding that page so I can go back. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, the 27th.
And then the 28th.
They recovered the trash.
Yep. And then 28th, boom, we got him.
No way. No way.
They literally had a jet sitting in the backyard of this place. They literally ran that trash out, threw it on a jet. Some guy flew across.
But even if they did that,
3/4 of the way across the country, some technician was sitting there ready to receive this, and boom.
it was the best police work they've ever done. They
Holy
were so
schmoly.
efficient. They had everything lined up. But all seriousness, can you even develop a profile? Like, I'm thinking you have to like put chemicals on it, and it needs to sit there for a little while, and then you have to. It has
Apparently
to go
it could be
through a
done in
machine,
24 hours.
and then I only know a little tiny bit about this to imagine it because of our medical history of things we went through. But I know it takes.
It doesn't take super long, but I think what takes a long time is there's a lot of DNA samples in the queue, you know?
Well,
And that's what takes a long time. I think the actual test doesn't take weeks. You know, it may only take, 10 hours to run the test, but
Maybe.
What keeps everything backlogged, and I think still to this day, there are cold cases that have DNA samples and people are like begging, hey, can you move this up? And they're like, oh, we just don't have the equipment or the people or,
Right.
to run them. So,
or we have other priorities ahead
or
of
other
you.
yeah, exactly. And to that, for me, I know you want to give a little, monologue here at the end, but for me, it's, I think at this point, for me, they still have the right person in custody. Going over the PCA and listening to the hearings, they still have the right person in custody in my eyes, and. Especially here at the end at this PCA, and I was making a joke about them flying across country, but I still remember that there were a lot of people in the country and the TikToks and everything that I was watching at the time while this person was still free, that people were calling, you got to arrest somebody, and for them to expedite the way they did expedite, kudos to them for maybe having that jet on standby or that technician on standby, so they could at least arrest the person that they felt at the time the majority of the evidence was leading to.
Yeah. I think it's odd, though, to just have a lot of things that aren't like the maps. Like, look at the way they did the maps. Like, just shoddy work or lazy work or putting things in the PCA that really had no bearing on anything.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they're whipping that out,
Well,
the DNA out like crazy. But I do have more on here that I want to show you.
Yeah, well, it's funny because you said that there was some, that this guy wasn't necessarily being a literary genius, but he was filling up, a pretty extensive PCA for him not, being a literary genius, but go ahead.
Yep.
What else you got?
Okay. So I think this is going to take us after. I wanted to bring in some of the stuff that, we went through the whole PCA, and now we've had a couple hearings where the defense is asking for some video footage that is not in the PCA.
Right.
So I was curious. Where are these places she's talking about? I heard names of businesses in that hearing that I had never heard before. So
Right.
I'm curious as to where she's going with that. So, okay, so this is the Wawaway Park. So I just wanted to give an idea of that area. So his alibi, Bryan Kohberger's alibi, is this park. So if they're saying, the defense, that that's where he was, up at the top at the right is Bryan Kohberger's apartment, and then this is a route to the park. Okay, so I did that, and that says that is 29 minutes, I believe. Yeah, so about a half an hour. So if he has to be back in the neighborhood to commit this crime at 3:30.
409, they have him walking in the house.
In the house, but he's seen on video cameras, like that gas station camera was definitely 3:45, I believe. I think there's one at 3:29.
Yeah.
So he's got to be back there at 3:30.
Right.
So we know he left his house at 2:47. He's on cameras. Well, supposedly the white sedan.
Boy,
I'm saying he.
Wait. We can't say allegedly sometimes, and then we have him the other times. You got to do it one way or the other.
Because I'm trying to make a point here.
Okay, go. Fair enough.
So the person driving this white car that is seen at 2:47 near his apartment building, leaves there at 2:47, drives 30 minutes down to this park. So that's 3:20 a.m. that he would get there.
Approximately, yeah.
Right? So if he just did this.
And if you remember, this was on the west left side of where Bryan Kohberger lived, and Moscow is on the far east right side of where he lived.
Yes.
At least the orientation, the way our maps are set.
Yes.
Okay. So
this is a 30-minute drive, and I think it was a 10-minute drive to Moscow.
So if I was a defense attorney, this would make, this would be like, well, how can he be there if my client is saying he was here?
Right. So to your point, maybe some of the white cars are not his, or, whatever other, they have different white cars on cameras. If he left this park and didn't stop, like he drove from his apartment, drove to this park, didn't stop, just drove through and then drove back around he could get there another half an hour, 40 minutes to walk in the house at 4:09.
4:09.
Like just right on time.
Right.
Okay, so I thought, okay, it's still, not probable, but, possible. So then I was curious and... Okay. So what they mentioned in the hearing was Floyd's Cannabis Shop, Red Star Coffee Company, and Mundy's Machine. And that's a welding company. So those places, I was expecting them to be away from Moscow. I thought the defense was making, to me, she was implying at that hearing that if Bryan, the night at 2:47, when he leaves his apartment, he pulls up to that crossroads on 270. And if he goes right, he's going towards the park. And if he goes left, he's going towards Moscow. And I thought they were going to try to prove he went right. And that these businesses would be towards the right. But they're not. They're to the left. So today, while I'm doing this, I'm like, wait, what?
So let's just clarify your orientation, because you're looking at it from the person sitting in the white car and they come up to this 270 road.
Yes.
And if they go right, but right as you're looking on the map is taking us to Moscow. So,
sorry.
So just to change, but I know what you're saying, but to change the orientation, actually when Bryan came to that decision, it would have him been taking, a right on a road that would actually be heading left on this map.
Yes.
Okay.
So if you're looking at your screen right now, the blue line is to the right of you looking at it, and that's towards Moscow is the main point that you need to know. So I was surprised by that. Okay. So then because to me, it makes sense. Like he's going to get something at the cannabis shop. He's getting some coffee, and then he's going to the park.
I don't think he's stopping in any of those places.
Maybe not. Maybe it's just on camera.
Yeah. I think they're trying to.
Those are the cameras.
Verify or unverify that he went past there.
Right.
And I think they're hoping that, hey, did you get this? Well, we didn't see anything. Well, not seeing anything proves our defense case. You seeing something helps prove the prosecution's case. So I want this information so I can prove, hey, you're saying this car is showing up on this path of travel. That car never showed up in front of those three businesses who have the best video I have ever seen in the state of Idaho. Those three businesses have the best one, and that car is nowhere in that area.
Oh, that could be.
Well, I hate making your points for you, but there you go. There's another one for you.
That could be. That could be. But my mind went a different way.
Okay.
So here's where my mind went.
Now I'm curious.
Because I'm thinking he did stop at those places.
Oh.
So then I thought, well, okay, what if he just continues on? He stops at Floyd's. He stops at the coffee shop and then just goes to the park. Like, I never heard anybody talk about that or see. So that's what this would look like. So he leaves and goes this way. Like, a lot of people talked about he liked to drive around at night. Because that was his first part of his alibi. I was driving late at night. Then it was to the park, right? More specific. And a lot of people have said, well, I drive at night, and he's taken it. That's a pretty rural route right there.
So am I clear in hearing you hypothesize that he stopped for a little bit of ganja, picked up coffee, and maybe some other place, picked up some money, I don't know, whatever that other place was, and said, I'm going to head to this park, stare at the stars, get my, weed on or whatever, and that's what I'm going to do tonight.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have him stopping at those places, making purchases.
Not at all three, because the one's a factory. He's not stopping at a factory.
Oh, okay. But you have him, okay. All right. I don't have him stopping anywhere.
Well, plus it's 3 a.m. Are they going to be open at 3 a.m? Maybe.
Well,
I don't know.
Who knows?
I got clientele.
Yeah, but, this person, this murderer, whoever it is, I think it's Kohberger, is on a mission. He has an urge to get something done and is hoping for an opportunity.
That's your...
He's not, hey, maybe I'll stop at Starbucks, along the way. And if, no, he's come with somebody. Okay, let's not even say it's him. Somebody has come with a weapon. Somebody is coming with a weapon to the place to make this murder happen.
But that's not what I'm showing here. That is not... Yes, we know that. Yes.
My point is, I don't think he stopped anywhere. This night, this person was hell-bent on creating a task that had been festering or fostering within him or her for some period, just to keep, all these conspiracy theories open. This person went there to do something. And if we're saying, because sometimes we say, that's not Bryan Kohberger's car that's going through there. But if it were, maybe he stopped here. I'm saying whoever is in that white Elantra, which could have housed the killer, they went there with the purpose. They were staking it out beforehand, saw when the opportunity arise, had the tools of murder in their possession, and went in and took care. Whether it's Bryan Kohberger or not, whoever was in that white Elantra was the person who did this.
I understand what you're saying. How are you connecting it to this?
I'm not connecting. What I'm saying is, you said he might have stopped. I'm saying he didn't stop.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm just trying to explain what the defense might be looking for these cameras. Okay.
No, I'm glad you are.
So
because
this is 1 hour and 4 minutes. So if he did this, if he continued on, now it's nearly impossible to get back into that area for this to happen, right? If it's 2:47, it's 3:47 by the time he's down here without stops. And then to make it back, it's already past time to enter the house.
Whether it's this map or the first map, anything that puts him in that Wahi Park makes it impossible for him to be back and shown on camera to do it. So
then this would be if he was to go back. That's how long that would take. So
even the first one, because like you said, we see the car, going back and forth when the lights are on, doesn't make it back from the very first map you showed. So this reinforces your point, but anything that puts him over there, he can't make it back.
Okay. I also thought that, wow, this is really showing me. I have not seen this put together this way on a map before, to even think. I had no idea in my head where this park was. Like, I couldn't even see or picture where the park was. So, and then no idea where those businesses were. And so just to see this visual now, I'm like, oh, okay, like I can get it. Like this is a plausible, not a crazy, to me, doesn't seem crazy to go out to a park like that. And then to see the time that it takes to drive out there makes it even seem like a better alibi. But I think it's going to be hard. And this is where I'm going to show the terrain. Because do you think they're going to have cell phone footage or coverage? Out there, it looks look at that terrain. So that's the same route in a pretty wooded, I don't know if it's wooded. I don't know what you call that. It's definitely uneven and rural, definitely rural. Before I screenshot this, I did go to actually look at Moscow and did the terrain, and it just was like city. City area. So
where's Moscow on this map?
So here's, you can see the Washington state line. So I think it's like right in the light, in the upper, if you're looking at your screen, the upper right-hand corner where it's dark, the lighter area below it.
Okay.
Would be around where it is.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I don't know, just for me, seeing all this stuff, talking about this case for a year and a half.
Well, what's interesting about that previous one, now that you pointed it out, all that is south of, seems pretty far south of Moscow.
The terrain one?
Yeah. If Moscow's up there, that seems pretty far south of...
Yeah, an hour.
So
it was an hour south.
That's an hour south. Those businesses are an hour south of Moscow?
Oh, the businesses?
Yeah.
No, those were... No, and I didn't... yeah, you can see it right there. I did put... There's 1122 King Road right there.
Oh,
so
okay.
I did.
Oh, okay.
I did think ahead. So Floyd's is a little bit actually above it. So this is that main road, 270, that comes from... Pullman, and then it would go right into the neighborhood. And I even put that mobile gas station. So if you look where the red dot is, he was definitely caught on that mobile gas station, or that car was caught. See, I'm like you're sucking me into the white car was caught on that mobile gas station. So I just wanted to see him driving to that park and then driving back where, you were questioning it. So I'm glad I captured that.
Well,
so
that makes way more sense why the
see.
defense is asking those right there.
And you think she's doing it because she wants to prove he's not on them.
Well, it's way more important now that I see the proximity of where it is to the murder scenes, but I know that's not what you're showing here, so I don't want to steal that thunder, but...
No, it's okay. That makes sense.
But if I'm the defense person and I'm saying, if we don't have any videos of my client's vehicle on these well-positioned, high-resolution cameras from these three businesses, because we've seen a lot of them, so why aren't we seeing these videos, supposedly, right? Because we went out there, we did our research, our investigation. We can see all these cameras. That funnels right into the crime scene. And if you're not showing any of those videos and he's not on there, or this car's not on there, I don't know if you have a case.
Well, but they're saying that they have other cameras, but I don't know. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
What's the first thing that, the Kohbergers are saying about all the video evidence? What are some of the first things that Kohbergers are talking about all this video evidence?
There's no license plate.
No license plate, right?
Yeah.
Blurry. Can't tell the distinction of the car model, to narrow it down. Absolutely. We got a range.
Yeah.
Right? These cameras, It's a business. It is a Starbucks, $1 billion company. It is, on a well-lit road. I want these 3 cameras.
Yeah.
Why aren't these available?
It's not a Starbucks though.
What is it?
Red Star Coffee Company. It's a little coffee hut.
All right,
like
little coffee hut. Little coffee hut. All right.
So the other odd thing, and then we're going to wrap this up, is that the times that the LE said they asked for these cameras, they talked about this in the hearing, was 5 to 6. Like, why did you get, like they said, give us your video footage from 5 to 6 a.m. on November 13th.
Yeah,
Wouldn't you want like the whole 24 hours surround, like give us it for the day before, the day of, the day after, like
12 to 12 at least. 12 midnight to 12 in the afternoon.
Yeah, and it's just the things like that they do that you're like, what are you doing? Like that's, So we'll find some more of those what are you doing moments, maybe. So we are wrapping up this episode, and as we get more information as this case goes on, we will come back with another episode, and we hope you'll join us back for that. And we'll see you then. Bye.
Bye.